and welcome to this special edition of the Boob Tube Buddies podcast covering the new Marvel movie, Doctor Strange. A couple of quick things before we get into it. You can check out all of our past episodes at www.boobtubebuddies.com. And also, we love hearing from you guys, so to get in on the conversation, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Reddit, or just email us at boobtubebuddies@gmail.com. I am Foxman, and I'm joined by the Baron Motho to my ancient fox. What's going on, Mothman?
Your ancient fox. Oh, my goodness. Not a whole lot. I'm really excited to be talking about this movie. This is one of the more exciting Marvel properties that once kind of Marvel got outside of their main characters, their Captain Americas and Iron Mans and those things, and they started to announce like their 4-year plan of movies, and Doctor Strange made that list. It was one of the characters in the universe I would have been most excited about because I love the occult and magic, and I love Vincent Price, which visually he's based on. So I was super stoked going into it. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, it was, well, first, let's just get it out of the way real quick. In fact, let's do like just kind of a quick review of the movie before we go into any specifics. So like anybody listening, we will end up spoiling stuff, but we'll give you a heads up right before we do that. So just general talk. What did you think about the movie?
All in all, I really, really liked it. Also, I had quite a few problems with it, but I mean, it was a blast start to finish. Visually, it was great. Character-wise and like costume look and everything else. There's a lot of things I really, really dug about it without getting, into the specifics. That'll be the next 45 minutes. Yes,
I'm pretty much on the same page with you. I can't stress enough how much you need to see this in theater. It is a spectacle, like probably one of the most gorgeous movies, and just visually, just the aesthetics of it are very pleasing to the eyes. Like, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous movie, a real achievement, honestly, in terms of digital effects. And so I really enjoyed the movie in terms of acting and things like that. There are definitely, like you said, issues. There are parts of it that are a little hollow. There's some bad pacing throughout it, but it is 100% worth watching. It's just freaking gorgeous. And if you like to do drugs, I would definitely recommend.
I was about to say, like, if you have a legal way to trip, like maybe a lot of Robitussin or other things we can't condone, do it beforehand, because it's a fucking trippy movie.
Yeah, I saw it at 9 a.m. on a Sunday, so definitely was completely dead sober when I saw it. But I found myself wishing I was on like a hit of LSD. Actually, I felt like I was on a hit of LSD while I was watching it.
Absolutely. Before we get too deep, this may be the first show that anyone's heard, just because they might search Doctor Strange. So we are a whole network of podcasts, and we actually have a Luke Cage podcast that's just now finishing. We have Walking Dead and Westworld ongoing. American Horror Story is ending this week. We have Divorce ongoing as well. And then Ash vs. Evil Dead. We plan on doing the other Marvel shows that come out next year as well. So if you do like this show, definitely check out at this point, I think we're getting into the 80-something hours of content. We're actually going to hit our 100th episode pretty soon here.
Yeah, we're definitely humming along in terms of how much we put out. But yeah, check out the other shows. And like I said, follow us on those social media sites, because we have a lot of shit coming out. Like, for example, with Westworld, we just put out a parody video that's up on YouTube. We put it on Facebook as well. It's kind of like a Man in Black tribute set to the our take on the Men in Black song by Will Smith. So it's like a parody and a tribute all at the same time. It's really bizarre, but very funny.
Yeah, and had Doctor Strange been a TV show that was going to go on for like 10 weeks, we may have had to do a Motley Crue Dr. Feelgood cover, but like Doctor Strange.
Oh, that's funny. I was going to say
call Doctor Strange.
I was thinking People Are Strange, the Doors song.
And doctors are strange.
Yeah, doctors are strange.
That would be good. Anyway.
Okay, so if you have not seen the movie, check out all that other shit, but turn this one off because we're about to start spoiling the shit out of it. You ready, Mothman?
The fucking shit out of it. I'm totally ready.
Okay, so what do you want to start off? Do you want to start on things you liked about it?
I don't know. Maybe like kind of go I mean, okay. I'm just gonna talk about how racist it is first. Is that cool?
I'm totally cool with the whitewashing.
Yeah. So the whitewashing was a pretty big scandal.
I'm not cool with the whitewashing. I'm saying I'm totally cool with talking about that first.
Hey, I accept your point of view. This is America. Like 50% of people feel that way, apparently.
Apparently. Oh, man.
Anyway.
This guy.
So it's actually kind of this weird political thing, the whole whitewashing of this. And I am pretty disappointed. I'm very excited about the Iron Man show because it's another character like Luke Cage and Daredevil that were... especially Luke Cage, like smaller characters that found like a niche audience and actually kind of represented a part of comics that weren't like black superheroes weren't.
The Iron
Asian
Man show?
superheroes weren't. The Iron Fist show.
Oh, okay.
So Iron Fist, Danny Rand is, you could be Asian descent. He's a kung fu master. All this other stuff. He is going to be a white guy on Netflix. The big controversy with this...
Who is playing that, by the way?
Some white dude with curly blonde hair from Game of Thrones.
Loris. Okay, yeah. I thought that was the case. I didn't know if it had been confirmed.
Yeah. So there definitely was opportunity there. Now with this show or this movie, the biggest one is the ancient one, which is Tilda Swinton. Now there are worse ways to whitewash a show. Taking a villain that is a man and making it a woman that's more diverse than like a lot of villains are in movies are. One of the main reasons they apparently did this was simply that they didn't want to have what was kind of a stereotypical Asian villain with like Fu Manchu beard and everything else, keep it out of Asian markets. Because now in the global market, these Marvel movies and every other superhero movie or blockbuster do double and triple in China than they do here. They actually even shot alternate versions of Iron Man 3 scenes with the Mandarin, because that could have been controversial, to ensure it got a Chinese box office release. So that is their business proposition that did it. But yeah, like, I don't know, not the best decision in my mind.
Yeah, to me, it was distracting, and it's a shame because Tilda Swinton is a fucking phenomenal actress and super bizarre. So anything that she does, you really do get lost in her character. So setting aside just the production shit and what it actually means to take jobs away from minorities, basically, is what is happening here. Yeah. If you take all that out of it, she actually did a good job.
She did. And now some other things I wanted to bring up that they also did wrong, but also did right. So one of it is in the comics, Wong, which we'll talk about his characterization. In the comics, he's basically a servant. And there are definitely, like if you read the 60s books, definitely articles of their time, there's very much like, come hither, do this for me, do that for me. Very like a more demanding version of Alfred. So I like that Wong was definitely a character in and of himself and definitely didn't feel like he was trying to play that part. But then the other kind of outdated idea behind the origin story of Doctor Strange, and honestly, I didn't really think about this, much as a kid, just, and I haven't really thought about his origin in a long time. But then just reading articles and things, is the key concept of this is that a white dude from America goes overseas and somehow is infinitely better suited than these minorities are to unlock these ancient powers that they've been studying a lot longer.
Yeah, well, yes, because he comes in, he has this photographic memory, and since he can project his astral image out, even while he's sleeping, he's doing that. He can probably project his astral image during the day as well, so that he's learning two things at once, which is, I'm assuming, kind of what they're saying with the whole I got my bachelor's while I got my master's sort of thing. But actually, and let me use that as a jumping off point, part of my issue here was like with the pacing, and I know that it would probably be a little bit boring to just sit here and have more training scenes, but I found it a little tough to buy the fact that he is made a master at the end without us ever seeing anything really occurring during the training stages that make him seem like he has mastered this.
I totally agree. So
Like a master with little proof of mastery.
yeah, so my ideal plot for this movie would have almost been that he doesn't master anything, but that I don't know, like maybe he just reads the book and interacts with the Eye of Agamotto and starts using it, and that is what lets him take on Dormammu, is simply that he's been exposed to these spells that otherwise the Ancient One has cut everyone off of. Like, I don't know, I feel like there's a way they could have wrote it where I don't know, I'm trying to think of a way to put it, but it's kind of like if you study you read 3 chapters on this very advanced doctrine in chemistry, and you know it by heart, yet you could not tell me the basics of chemistry. Like, you leapfrog those things. You don't understand the fundamentals or the concepts, but if someone asked you to do this very specific advanced task, you could do it. Because he's so eager in the training. He immediately wants to get these books that are locked up and gravitates toward them. And to me, that would have made more sense. It's almost like he doesn't spend very much time at all on the basics other than simply reading the books and then turning them back in. But he immediately wants to start using and applying the knowledge the moment he realizes you can, turn back time.
Okay, let's talk about the Eye of Agamotto, because, and again, we like the movie overall, and we're going to go into all the stuff that we like, but we're kind of just going through some of our gripes with it right now. So the Eye of Agamotto, obviously Wong and Mordo come in and like give him a hard time about having it, but they don't really give him that hard of a time. And because of the attacks that happen and stuff, he's basically allowed to wear it around like it's just something to tie his fucking outfit together through the rest of most of the movie until the end. But yeah, dude, it's a fucking Infinity Stone. And considering how dangerous like the Tesseract is from Avengers and I think like Captain America, and then the orb from Guardians of the Galaxy, like these things can mow down like civilizations, like they're like crops getting hit by the tractor or something like
much wheat. Like so much amber waves of grain.
Yeah, basically.
Right?
Yeah, so I just found that really, I don't know. I found that a little ridiculous that that this is like essentially the ultimate weapon of mass destruction. And it's just like a little slap on the hand, and then they forget that he has it.
I almost wish like they didn't mention that it was an Infinity Stone, because it is. It's the Time Stone, and it controls time. Yes. And even if you didn't know it was, they'd make that clear when the Infinity War movie happens, and you wouldn't question it because they'd say it's time, and you're like, oh, that makes sense, right? It's green, and it's controlling time. But the way it would have made more sense is if they didn't know it was an Infinity Stone, and the power truly resided in the fact that you knew how to harness it. Because the Tesseract Cube, or the orb from Guardians, you'd know how to do shit, and you could still destroy some things, right?
Yeah.
Like this one, it wouldn't even open up and be viable unless you knew what you were doing to some extent. So that was the only thought process that made sense as to why they weren't more protective, because if a kid grabbed it, he wouldn't be able to open it or do anything with it. But if they also realize that, no, this is one of the most powerful things in the world, no matter who uses it, the only reason it's hard to use is because of the spell and encasing that's on it. I think there's a way to play that better. But yeah, it did come off for half the show as just being a nice piece of his wardrobe until he was able to actually start utilizing it.
Yeah, so the other issue here, and it ties in exactly with that, is the lack of fucking security. So Wong, we know, obviously, is kind of like the librarian here. First off, how is that stone ever left unguarded if it's that powerful? Second off, what's his name? Phycilius or something like that? What's the bad guy's name? Caecilius.
Chrysanthemum.
Sure. He broke in and stole that one page at the beginning of the movie, and you'd think that they'd be like, okay, shit, something really big is coming, let's beef up security. No, we're going to leave the fucking Infinity Stone out where anybody, some fucking noob here at the Sanctum can come over and do it. And the New York Sanctum, we're just going to leave the Master there by himself to take care of it.
Yeah. There's definitely some fallacies there in the logic once you kind of understand what is going on. But let's not shit on it too much because we both really liked it. So
wait, hold on. If we're talking complaints, let me have my moment in the sun here. You got to say your stuff. I have some more problems here. Okay.
Well, we're gonna get to more problems as we go through it, like scene by scene, right?
We're not going through it scene by scene. Okay, so the one other issue that I have is I would have liked to have seen some more traditional magic from Strange. Like, we get to see a little bit from What's-Her-Face as she's kind of bending time and doing the symbols in the air. But for the most part, when Doctor Strange starts using spells, it's almost always just to summon a weapon, like to conjure up a weapon to use, and then it's kung fu fighting.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So there's that. Thanks for commenting. The other thing is the stakes for me were just a little bit too low. I've told you this before. I don't particularly love when they just have like, okay, well, what's going to happen here is somebody taking over the world. Like world domination plots for me, it's like, I know that this world is not going to be destroyed. So I just don't, there's just no stakes there for me. Especially after the Ancient One dies. I mean, if Wong died, whatever. If Mordo died, whatever. I know Doctor Strange isn't going to die because I know they want him in the rest of the Marvel properties. So, like, when the last scene comes down to it, for me, there was zero tension.
For the last scene, yeah, a little bit. I mean, there's no tension for me ever with the climax of any Marvel movie because I know they're not going to kill the main guy.
Yeah, but they might kill somebody at the very least. Like, doesn't somebody die at the end of the Avengers 2?
Yeah.
Quicksilver.
Yeah.
No, it's not Quicksilver. What's the guy's name?
No, it is Quicksilver.
It is Quicksilver?
Yeah, they don't kill Hawkeye, right?
Doesn't Hawkeye die in it too, though?
Maybe Hawkeye's the dead one. But, okay, but that's someone they... Are you just simply saying that you didn't have enough, like... You didn't care enough about the other characters that potentially would die for it to matter?
I felt like there was no skin in the game. Like, I wasn't nervous at that moment at all. And I would like to be. I just like it. Like, if for whatever reason, Rachel McAdams somehow, if they could have figured out a way for her to be, like, at wherever this was happening, I would be worried that she would die. At the very least, more so than these other characters. Not like I'd walk out of the theater sobbing or anything if she died.
See, but I don't dislike her character, but she also just didn't do a whole lot for me. Like, I would have been more upset, not for Mordo, but for Wong to die.
Okay. All right. I guess I get that. I'm just saying, to me...
I didn't feel anxiousness either way. Like, to me, I don't know, to me, the climax of Marvel movies is more of, are they going to pull off a believable defeat of the villain? Because they normally try to stack things so high that like there is some tension, but we obviously know there isn't. They're not going to kill the main characters. So to me, it's like, are they going to pull off a believable defeat where it doesn't feel like they just pulled something out of their ass and like, cheated in some way. Maybe they do one of those like fake outs where someone's dead and then they really rise from the ashes. So, I don't know. I thought the ending was unique, and I don't know. Maybe they almost felt that was going to be the case, and that there's probably no stakes here. So let's just make sure we kill Strange within a minute, and then kill him 50 more times.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy the last scene. Yeah. I just didn't feel attached to it, but I did enjoy just the visual of it. I thought were cool. Okay, I only have one other complaint, and maybe you don't feel this way at all. But I don't think that Benedict Chamberpot's American accent is all that great.
Oh, yeah, I didn't register a single word that I was like, that doesn't sound like us.
Yeah, I honestly I was getting caught up on it. Like, it just kept triggering in my brain like a laugh track does. Like, I just kept feeling, it just felt acted as opposed to just him being that.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, it might help if things I've seen him in. I think I've seen the very first episode of Sherlock. Okay. And that's it. I know him, but I what other movies is he in? I didn't see.
I don't watch Doctor Who.
Yeah, I don't watch Doctor Who. I didn't watch
Star Trek.
Is it the most recent one he's in?
I didn't see the most recent one, so no, he's Khan.
Oh, he was Khan. Okay, it's been so long, but I did see that one. So I don't know. I think sometimes for me, what throws me off is like if I know what their real accent sounds like, I hear it come through. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't catch my ear. Yeah.
Okay. When you watch Walking Dead, do you catch it at all with like Andrew Lincoln? He doesn't always sound like he's from the South.
Like Rick?
Yeah.
He's never seemed to drift to me. He doesn't necessarily sound very South to me either. He just kind of sounds like gruff American. I thought there was like 3 like Governor's British too, isn't he, or no?
I'm pretty sure like everybody on that show is from England.
There's quite a few. I mean, at least the first season or two, a lot of people on there were British.
I think Norman Reedus might be. I have no idea. I'm just talking out of my ass.
I know Christian Bale is, and he has like a thick Cockney accent.
Oh,
he sounds like Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins normally.
Yeah. All right, Governor.
All right, Governor.
All right, so all right, you lead it away from the bad stuff because I wanted to get that out of my system because those were my problems with the movie. Overall, though, I'm gonna watch it again at some point.
Oh yeah,
I really liked it.
A little burp there. So. I like how they...
Oh, there goes like 10% of our listener base.
Well, no one heard it. yeah. So I thought they did a good job showing him as a doctor with a terrible ego and just kind of being a kind of hotshot and a giant douche. What did you think about like his initial portrayal?
I thought it was okay. Again, I was getting a little caught up on the accent, more so in the beginning when it was all just storyline and dialogue driven. So I kept thinking that, but aside from that, I was okay with all of it. I thought that because he seems like a highbrow, refined, sophisticated guy. Like even the actor Benedict Chamberpot seems like the type of guy. I don't know. That was very believable to me. I was okay with all that.
Yeah. So I thought he pulled off that characterization fairly well. And he's this world-class surgeon. Like as someone that has read the original comics a very, very long time ago. And then since then, like he's not this giant character. So he's not like in comics, so many other characters it feels like they retell their origin ad nauseum all the time just because they're constantly almost rebooting the series trying to get new readers. But with Doctor Strange, it's not like that. So I probably only read a handful of iterations for it. So, I thought they did a decent job with it. I did like the fact that they have the relationship with what's her name in the movie?
Rachel McAdams.
Yeah, but do you know the character's name? I don't.
Oh, Dr. McAdams. I have no idea.
Okay.
I honestly don't remember at all.
Yeah, so like I thought they could have done a better job with her characterization, but not that she did anything wrong, but I don't know, she almost simply seems to exist to
prop up his plot line.
Yeah, I mean, she's basically there to show that he has dated semi-seriously in the past and that he pushes people away, but people still care about him. She's also there to perform emergency surgery on him. So I like their interactions best in the beginning, but then I don't know, it's like there's so much to tell in the first movie, including the origin where he like goes and travels and does the montage and all that stuff, where then she's just not part of the movie for half of it again. I just feel like maybe we didn't get enough screen time with her to really develop her properly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it would have been better if we'd seen that kinky BDSM full-body Chinese finger trap suit that Strange catches Caecilius in. If they'd shown like a sex scene with him using that on Dr. McAdams, I think that like it might have fleshed that out, like literally fleshed that out a little bit more, and it would have been a little bit more for me to draw from when they're tapping into the well of their past history together.
I like that, and I think it like kind of promotes a healthy exploration of sex, but I think take it a notch better and have him put in that by her.
Oh God, pegging? Is that what would happen afterwards?
Maybe.
That's where you take every single one of our podcasts into a conversation about how much you like pegging. I will say one other thing, speaking of pegging, the other guy played by Benjamin Bratt, who's, I think his name is like Pegging Born or something. He might be my favorite character in the film because upon learning that magic is real and he can tap into these vast stores of just what magic can accomplish, he uses it to go play basketball with his friends.
Yeah, yeah, it's so good. Yeah. So anyway, like for those of you that aren't seeing the movie and just wanted to have the entire thing spoiled, the rest of his origin is simply that he's this world-class surgeon. He takes out his Lamborghini, is driving like a complete asshole on these winding roads that don't have the best visibility and passing every car, also while texting and calling. And he is this, not only is he a great surgeon, but he has an ego and wants to have the number one record. So it's almost like he doesn't take anything that isn't going to be like a high success rate, but also kind of miraculous to kind of up his profile. So, he's giving his agent or whoever a hard time, only to basically get into a very, very horrific crash.
Yeah, I didn't really particularly like the crash either. That was the one bit of special effects in the movie that to me was average at best, maybe even a little substandard. It was just too ridiculous, like the amount of flips and where it landed and everything like that.
I thought it looked fine, but yeah, him being alive was another story.
Because if they're going to make it that intense and then him to basically suffer almost no real significant other damage other than his hands, I don't know. That did not sit particularly well with me. But all the actual fights with with like the world kind of folding and everything in the mirror dimension, where everything is kind of like an MC Escher wet dream, that to me, that all played out very well. Like I found myself like my head pushed back against the seat and I felt my mouth at one point. I realized like my jaw was sore and I think that my mouth had just been hanging open.
Yeah. No, it was jaw dropping. So, he has his hands fucked up. I would agree that the crash scene's too intense for the fact that he survives. Now they don't make it look like it's a light crash. He is fucked up. His hands are destroyed. He comes to and immediately is an asshole because he realizes he's not going to be able to work again. He tries everything to all these experimental things to try to get his hands up and running. But these other surgeons are like, look, it's just impossible. And so then he's just doing physical therapy, and this is typical need to move the plot along. The physical therapist says look, I had one dude that, I thought died because he stopped coming, but he was able to go from broken back in a wheelchair to walking. He's the only person I've ever seen make such a miraculous recovery. And he's just like, well, then you need to prove it to me. He's like, look, anything to prove your arrogant ass wrong. Which leads this weird roundabout thing to find the journey to the east.
Hippocratic oath be damned. So that's when we get the whole training session and everything like that. Anybody who's listening at this point, I think has probably seen the movie because we're telling you we're going to ruin the entire goddamn movie for you. So if not, so we don't need to
Please stop.
I'd rather get into more of a deep dive of certain scenes and stuff because I kind of want to get your opinion about some of the scenes specifically. But real quick, we're kind of at that point where we're probably at the halfway point. Let's real quick cut to our sponsor, which is FireFan this week. Which, by the way, is a sports app that is kind of like a fantasy sports, like fantasy football or fantasy basketball. But you while you're watching the game, you're basically taking the lineups, you're making substitutions. It's super fucking cool and cutting edge. And it's actually it hasn't even come out yet. It comes out in a couple of weeks. And we were approached and they asked us to create an ad. We have made well, you know what? Let's roll the tape.
Play it.
What kind of fan are you? Do you scream at the players through your television?
What the f*** are you doing? Throw the ball! Come on.
Do you predict the plays?
Saw that one coming. How does this bag still have a job?
Do you want to be buried upside down so the critics can kiss your ass? Then listen up. If you got a burning passion for sports, then the new sporting game app FireFan is for you. You get to be in charge of the action, predict the scores, call the plays, all in real time.
FireFan.
The FireFan app launches on the week of November 21st, and you can get 12 free tokens by using the player rewards code HALEY. That's HALEY. You can sign up for the app early at our affiliate's website, www.haleyIsaDog.com. That's HALEYISADOG.com. The app is FireFan, and the code is HALEY.
Oh, and we're back. How about that, FireFan? Try it out.
FireFan. Yep. Thank you to those guys. Really cool to have like a dedicated sponsor this week. And so again, like the www.haleyIsaDog.com costs you nothing. Go there, check it out. It's super cool. But anyway, we want to get back into the action here. So I want to just ask you a couple of things and see what you think. Actually, fuck it. I got a game for you. You ready?
Oh, shit. All right.
Okay. The name of this game didn't come up with a name. You ready?
All right.
All right. Question number 1. It is multiple choice, okay?
Okay.
When was Doctor Strange's first appearance in the comics? I'm going to give you 4 different years. You tell me which one you think it is, okay?
Okay.
All right. A, 1958. B, 1963. C, 1968. D, 1973.
63.
Nice job, man. How'd you know that?
Most seminal Marvel characters are from the 60s, with the exception of Captain America, because he was not actually a Marvel comic. It was Atlas before Marvel bought them, and it was like a World War II comic.
Man, nice job. Yeah, so that was from Strange Tales number 110 in 1963. Good job, buddy.
There, and I would not have gotten that book number. I remembered Strange Tales, but anyway, thank you.
Okay, so number 2, and I've only got 3 of these to be fair. So number 2. Doctor Strange changed the memories of all the people on Earth and all the records while also altering his appearance at one point so that he could live anonymously. What did he change his name to? Multiple choice. You ready?
Okay.
A, Dr. Gregory House. B, Dr. Stephen Smith. C, Dr. Stephen Sanders. D, Dr. Greg Kite.
Wait, so Doctor Strange did this?
Yes.
Did you not say Doctor Doom?
I did not say Doctor Doom.
I swear you said Doctor Doom. So one of those, all right, the multiple choice one more time, just the names.
No problem. Gregory House, Stephen Smith, Stephen Sanders, Greg Kite.
Greg Kite sounds like a good name.
That's a basketball player from the 90s. No, it's Stephen Sanders.
That was actually like my main guess, but I was like, I don't know, Stephen, like it's too on the nose. Anyway.
Do you know what Gregory House is?
No.
It's just House, like Dr. House.
That's funny.
I'm a funny guy. Yeah. Okay, so number 3, last one. We're currently covering Luke Cage, as you mentioned in the beginning, who was in a superhero group with Doctor Strange.
New Avengers.
First, what's the name of that group?
Okay, all right.
Okay, well, no, I'll just let you do that. That's actually not the group that the two of them were in together first, at the very least.
Oh, there's an earlier group. Defenders?
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
Are they making... I think they might be making a Defenders Netflix thing.
Yeah. Defenders Netflix is confirmed. It's going to be 8 episodes instead of 13, because everyone thinks 13 is too long.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the kind of more modern day version of Defenders, which is Luke, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Misty Knight, like the Heroes for Hire kind of group.
Luke, Daredevil, Misty Knight. Okay, so you've already named 3.
Oh shit! Sorry.
Yeah. So my thing was going to be to name an additional 5 members, but now I want you to name 5 that are not the 3 that you've already said. Of course, to be fair, I wouldn't have counted Luke Cage and Doctor Strange anyway. I'll allow Misty Knight. So give me 4 more.
Of the Defenders or the New Avengers?
Defenders.
Of the Defenders? Okay.
There are, by the way, 27 different options.
27. God, they put everyone in the Defenders over there.
And I wrote every single one of them out and then put them in alphabetical order so I could easily search it when you say it.
Okay, so Iron Fist is one.
Yes.
Misty Knight is one.
Yes.
Obviously, Doctor Strange was one at one point.
Doesn't count.
I know. Luke Cage doesn't count.
Uh-huh.
Daredevil.
Daredevil is in here. There's another really easy one too.
Another really easy one, Spider-Man.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Man, like, it's been so long since there's been any Defenders comics. I'm like, who the hell else have they put in there?
Okay, but hold on. You got Daredevil, you have Luke Cage, you have Iron Fist. Those are all Netflix properties. Is there anybody else that you could think of from a Netflix property?
Jessica Jones?
Yeah, Jessica Jones.
Oh. See, I don't know that there's been a Defenders comic with any recent memory, but maybe they just had her on. I don't know. Okay.
They're from a million different things. There are other names in there like Beast, Ghost Rider, Hulk, Iceman, see, Krang, Moondragon, Nighthawk, She-Hulk, Silver Surfer,
It's mostly
War Machine,
like B and C level characters, it seems.
Wolverine. Yeah, B and C level Wolverine. So yeah, it was. I'm impressed, dude. I always am. Your knowledge of comic books far exceeds my own. I basically just love to deep dive on the Marvel wiki, and
there's a lot on there. Yeah,
it's so cool, dude. And you can go down the rabbit hole because everything links. So that is a lot of fun. But okay, let's talk about a couple of things here. So I love the Cloak of Levitation. Like, it's kind of whimsical, a la the magic carpet from Aladdin, but without being like too silly. But what did you think it was too silly? Like too slapstick?
A little bit, but I mean, I thought they pulled off the tone and liked it.
I thought so too.
You know, I like that it choosed him, so there's kind of like this camaraderie aspect, which I don't know. Maybe that too is nice, like to have it kind of be completely alive and not just this cloak he's wearing. And almost be his like right-hand man. I think that also to an extent opened up Wong to be more of his own character, especially for future movies as well. You know, because he basically has like the beck and call servant type thing, just be his like ever protective cape.
Agreed. And so, Mordo is one of his enemies, and actually he in like the very beginning of like Origins of Doctor Strange, Mordo accidentally sets loose when he's in training with the Ancient One. When Doctor Strange, or what's his actual name? Stephen Strange.
Yeah.
When Stephen Strange is a kid, when he's 8 years old, Mordo accidentally unleashes like a horde of demons and almost gets Stephen Strange killed. He doesn't realize that it was him, that it was Mordo, until years later. But the Ancient One had to like step in and save him.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Not a storyline that I recall, at least. I liked that. The Eye of Agamotto, I thought they did a really cool job, like visually representing. But
it looked very good.
We talked about just the lack of security and then almost the overuse of it. I just thought the visuals throughout were really good. Once he gets to the east and kind of, it's kind of almost seems fast and forced to get him there, but it's fine. Once he gets there, I do really like the initial interaction with Tilda Swinton, like as the Ancient One, and I like when she, like, he's immediately being an asshole and she just knocks him out of his body with his astral projection.
And that was very cool looking.
And then almost right after, like, has him do the full-on trip, like one of the more trippy scenes with all the little baby arms all over him.
Oh yeah, that was really cool.
Crazy.
And then she has the fight scene somewhere around here with Caecilius, and where they're running up the walls in New York or London or wherever that was at. And that to me was just amazing. Like, to see everything working in so many dimensions in terms of everything interlocking, and like them trying to jump from thing to thing and deal with trying to attack her while still managing to not just fall.
It reminded me a lot of like playing platformer video games.
Oh, like, yeah, for sure.
Just like, especially the more modern ones where you are like just jumping from moving surfaces, this, that, and the other in a 3D environment.
Yeah, it's like Super Mario SNES.
Yeah, and like, but thinking of that like in 3D real time, but like it was kind of mind bending without being nauseating, because it would also be easy to overwhelm the audience with all those little components moving.
Yeah, having a steady camera helps too. You know what I mean? Like if they tried to shoot this with like some found footage type shit, like I'd probably have vomited in my seat.
Yeah. No, they do enough like jerky cam, like with zoom ins of actual like hits when like contact's made, when fighting's happening, but then they have a like nice kind of more zoomed out shots that like give you perspective, and there's this constant sense of momentum throughout the scenes without it just feeling like, oh god, I don't know what's going on, which I couldn't tell you the first thing about designing a scene like that, but it just has to be a pretty ridiculous undertaking to get that to look as realistic and trippy and fun as it did without losing the audience and just being like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing that we're at a point with technology that we can pull that sort of idea out of somebody's brain and actually turn it into a thing that is tangible to watch for somebody and doesn't feel like a shitty dream, where things are just kind of like spliced into each other.
And that's the thing I really like about some of these comic properties being made into like big budget movies. I'm very much like have a very soft spot for indie comics and movies and pretty much anything that's just independently done, because it's just the fact that someone without any money and nothing but like passion is able to pull something off that touches millions of people. I think it's very
kind of
cool.
like us here, minus the millions of people.
Right. Yeah, well, but I mean, if that were to happen, like it's cool. It's kind of like the grassroots type thing. So I'm always very passionate about that. And the thing that I've loved about comics is that it's, for the most part, it's one or two people really making the comic, right?
Yeah,
it's one person writing it, one person drawing it. And so you think of all the great ideas that have gone to low budget sci-fi or even superhero movies or whatever, that what ruins it is the fact that they have no money to bring it to life, and like they can't pull these scenes off and make them laughable. Meanwhile, like a kid in his bedroom that's talented can make the most crazy imagery. And if you look at these like Doctor Strange comics, like the imagery is absolutely amazing, but it's so cool to see budgets being put behind comics that were drawn by, small time artists 50 years ago being brought to the big screen with like these amazing budgets and just really opening the world to the mainstream audience to see all this trippy psychedelic shit that was like, niche hippie stuff back then.
Yeah, and we get the other fight scene that is Mordo and Strange and Caecilius, and that was incredible too with where Strange puts it all into the mirror dimension, so it's not gonna fuck anybody's day up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like it goes like they're so high up in the air, and they're running up this and that, and then they're diving, and then they're falling, and it's just like it's hard to even pick it apart. Like if there was anything wrong with it, honest to God, my brain was so my mind was blown watching it. I couldn't have picked out one thing that didn't look perfect, because the scope of the whole thing was just blowing me over. Like it was so good.
Yeah, and this is special effects obviously are a big draw for summer movies, and plenty of people would argue that a lot of summer movies don't have much substance. It's all about the spectacle.
Battle of Los Angeles.
Yeah, Battle of Los Angeles, Transformers, any of them. And to an extent, I agree. Some of them are like, let's just go have mindless fun. Obviously, the Marvel movies seem to be a cut above. We've also listed plenty of qualms with this movie, but this is one of those movies that like the special effects and the kind of concepts they're dealing with, kind of inner sanctum and spirituality and all these other things. It's, even if you just put it on mute and there was not any kind of substance to this movie, it still would totally be a great movie because of the uniqueness and just seamless execution of the effects.
Oh yeah, and gorgeous choreography with it too. The production side of this movie is it's just staggering. I can't say it enough, but again, we don't need to go into that because people have seen it. But let me just ask you. So okay, let's talk about the last scene when he's fighting. I'm sorry, what's Dormammu?
Dormammu.
Yeah. So First off, I went and looked online, and this does not look like Dormammu. It actually looks a lot more like, what's the big planet-eating guy?
Galactus?
Yeah, it looked a little bit more like Galactus's build than Dormammu, because Dormammu is like almost like a really large, scarier version of Ghost Rider in the comic books. And I found that a little confusing, because he definitely looked a little bit less, well, he looked shapeless a little bit.
Yeah, well, so Dormammu in more recent times is very like Ghost Rider-y, and he always had a flame head. But if you look at real early Dormammu art, it almost was like he was wearing an orange ski mask, and you know how ski masks have those ridges?
Yeah.
Right? And you can see that in older drawings. It's basically like a flame head with lines on him. But the problem with Dormammu is, you know, you're dealing with an old school 60s comic. They make him a very human looking thing, yet he has this tremendous world shattering power. And I think from a Marvel Cinematic Universe perspective, they're like, well, what can make him to an extent legitimately scary or different than all these other villains? And most of these other villains are just grappling with, like, not even magic or anything, but just, you know, think of Red Skull. You know, he's a kind of normal villain with just great weapons in the human realm. But then we're escalating things with like the Guardians and introducing Thanos, and he's going to be able to do some crazy stuff out in the galaxy. So it makes sense to introduce this character that is like the spiritual realm. So
yeah, and it does make him seem, in the dark dimension, it does make it seem like he could absolutely butt fuck Thanos. And I think that the reason why it seems like that is, like you said, because he's not really chained to a organic body or life form.
So I thought they did a cool, like, if you look, one of the things I actually thought was a really cool touch was the undulating waves in his face that made those ridges.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He basically has the ridges that he was always drawn with in like the 60s and 70s that kind of look like a lame ski mask, and you definitely wouldn't want to give a character like a costume like that. So it's almost like this throwback, but it almost just looks like dark energy kind of emanating from his consciousness or something. And
you know, he and his whole race of people, that's all they were essentially, was beings of energy. And eventually he killed every other last one of his race, including his family, absorbed all their powers, and then used it to bond himself with the dark dimension. So now he literally is the dark dimension.
Yeah, and so they, instead of like trying to give you much origin or this, that, and the other than just like dialogue, I mean, they present you just this character in what is almost his ultimate, you know, strongest form. But the thing they bring up multiple times throughout, and I thought this was kind of clever, was simply that, you know, he exists beyond space and time. And the way they have him kind of be this emanating darkness that you can't see and touch, and it's this different realm of consciousness. It's very almost like Lovecraftian, like the ancient gods that are. And there's even a line that's almost like, you watched what was the HBO show with Colin Farrell, and before
True
that,
Detective. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay,
Time is a flat loop.
Yeah, time is a flat circle. We just need
flat circle.
Yeah. So what does he say? Sometimes I think we just need to go hand in hand into the extinction of the human race. Just
Doesn't look like anything to me. Oh wait, no, that's Westworld.
Yeah. But he's very like dark and nihilistic, and there is a line from Doctor Strange in here at some point where he's like, "We're just specks of dust in an uncaring world," and then to have Dormammu end up being his enemy, where that's almost the proof of what he said, and then he ends up having to fight against what was his outlook on the world later in. I thought that was kind of cool.
It would be, it would have been kind of funny if it turned out that one of the acolytes for Caecilius was Cole.
Yeah, it was Weston Cole.
Yeah.
He just was having his Pabst Blue.
Yeah. I did like the way that he beat Dormammu. Instead of like finger blasting him with some, you know, magical death stuff. Yeah, sure. Instead of having that happening, like to have that time loop, I thought that was a very clever way of doing it.
I did too. I thought it was, it was almost like a. So you're talking about the tension or whatnot. They almost took the Guardians route where like the climax. I don't know that you really felt much tension because it was a fairly like fun and entertaining, but also like the whole time it would give you comedy anytime it would get too tense. I thought it was just a good comedic bit to have him just like, look, we can do this all day. He dies a million ways. It's like, this is getting old. But essentially Dormammu is just like, I don't have any way out of this. You brought time into my realm, which I don't have a way to process. I guess I'll finally strike the bargain with you. And it was realistic because of the power that Agamotto had. If it had been like finger blasting, as you said, I wouldn't have bought it because of the lack of like the scenes earlier of him mastering the skills. Like I wouldn't have bought him like hand-to-hand combat beating Dormammu.
That would have been so silly.
Especially if he looked like that. I mean, this was like a different way to go. Can you imagine if he just keeps punching that big face? It's like a boss fight on the game.
Yeah.
You ever play Star Fox?
Are you fucking kidding me, dude? My last name's Foxman, and when you're a 9-year-old and there's a game called Star Fox and your last name's Foxman, you pretty much associate it as being like the game that is telling the story of your life.
It basically would have ended up being like the last boss fight, just a giant head you're shooting at for like 3 hours.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else major that you want to get into? I mean, I think that we pretty well covered the movie, the goods, the bads, the uglies.
Yeah, I almost feel bad because I feel like we may have talked about more stuff we didn't like, but God, don't let that. I mean, obviously you probably already saw the movie, but still, go see it again. Go buy it. It's great. It's a tremendous movie, and you're right. I mean, but that's the thing when you start talking about something. A lot of times, it is easier to kind of harp on some of the negatives than it is to geek out over the positives, because so much of what was positive about it is the visual, and there's not much that we can do. Yeah, go fucking see it, right?
Yeah. So I'm glad that you did qualify it like that. Yeah, because I don't want to sound like a negative Nelly. I did have some qualms with it. It was not a perfect movie, but it is a movie that I'm going to end up seeing multiple times. And I honestly, I can't wait to see it again. I mean, I probably won't go see it in theater, but I liked it enough where I probably won't wait until it comes out on, actually, hold on. Didn't Netflix buy the rights so that all Marvel movies moving forward will come out on Netflix before like it comes out on TV or something? DVDs probably still come out first.
Yeah, I really have no idea. I didn't.
Yeah, I'm curious how the structuring of that is. I'd like to look into that. But okay, anyway, for anybody joining us for the first time, again, first off, just thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Reddit. We've already talked about the other shows that we did ad nauseum, so I won't go back into it. But thank you for joining us. We'd love to have you back. And Mothman, you're a cool little guy. Why don't you tie a bow on this bitch?
Oh, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Yes, definitely go out and see it. It's a lot of fun. One thing that blew my mind is before we did the podcast, if you are a longtime listener, you'll know that Foxman has this crazy intricate rating system on how he judges movies, and he said it was an 8.5 out of 10, which is unheard of from him.
Did I tell you it was an 8.5? Because I was just thinking in my head as you started prefacing that I'd call it an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, you did text me that.
Okay, 8.5 out of 10 for me, by the way, is really good.
Yeah, no, and I would put it at probably like at a solid 8. And if we're talking, I mean, I love psychedelic imagery, and the psychedelic imagery is 10 out of 10. Like it is
100%. It is.
It's now some of my favorite like just psychedelic scenes from cinema. Like
definitely, yeah. Like fuck you, Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah, no, I mean there's other obviously still great stuff in cinema, but
fuck you, Animatrix.
I will say fuck you, Animatrix. Anyway,
it is bad, but it is cool looking.
Yeah, but it really did some impressive things, and I think it's exciting to be now in the era of Marvel movies where we're getting more into the fringe characters, and there aren't all going to be, at least in their mind, big enough to do a movie for, but like Marvel's just proven to be such a goldmine for Disney because we're like Guardians was such a success, and none of those characters are big names, right?
Ant-Man
was a success. This is a success. Black Panther, I think, is going to kick ass. I mean, I'm really excited to see these characters that were nobodies, and and they've become fairly popular in comics over the last few years before the movies came out. But it's just exciting to see what are these two-person creations for the most part being brought to the big screen with budgets that are able to do justice to the just mind-bending art that these people were putting down 30, 40, 50 years ago, depending on the character. So
yeah, totes my goats, Foggy. All right, you want
my
to?
goats. All right, so I had to take.
Why
a
you
breath
get so
there.
sleepy all of a sudden? Jesus.
Oh no, I was just I
Is it because we're recording this at the fucking stroke of midnight?
yeah, it might be. Anyway, thank you for listening. We will see you next time, little buddies.